Baroud joins us now from Seattle, a senior research fellow at the Center for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University. Ramzy, thank you very much for your time. Does it feel to you like this new round of escalation is edging ever closer to all-out war here?
Well, I think in a sense it is an all-out war. The question is, how would you define or describe this war? It hasn't reached the part of the war that where Israel invades physically parts of Lebanon, as we have seen happening in the past in 78, 82. Again, they attempted that in 2006 and terribly failed. But as far as the impact of the war, the targets of the war, the elements of the war, the destruction of civilian infrastructure, the killing and wounding of civilians in very large numbers to put pressure on the Lebanese resistance, whether Hezbollah or others, are all kind of part of the typical Israeli wars on Lebanon in the past. So this is war. It just will it expand into a different branch of the war, which is the land invasion? That's a big question. And I think the outcome of what is Israel doing in Lebanon right now is going to determine what the Israeli next step is.
And Ramzy, you very much have been on the receiving end of Israeli strikes. It's something very personal to you. Your sister's house was bombed in Gaza. You've lost many family members. Does what's going on in Lebanon at the moment come as any surprise to you? For example, what some are calling psychological warfare on the part of Israel when it comes to these text messages warning people to leave certain areas, and yet continuing with the airstrikes. And how are people meant to know where Hezbollah's munitions are stored?
Absolutely. So Gaza has experienced not only a full-scale Israeli war and war crimes, but really the worst that any kind of war in modern history can possibly offer. I mean, it's not just war, but torment, the daily torment that people are experiencing since October 7 until today. So we dreaded the possibility of this happening to our people in Lebanon. Palestinians and Lebanese are, they are part of the same history or trajectory of pain and suffering, mostly inflicted by Israel. So we dreaded this moment, but we expected this moment as well, because we also knew, and I still believe, that the war is not going to stop until Netanyahu is pushed into ending this war. Netanyahu cannot possibly get down off this tree that he climbed on October 7, October 8, where he promised that he is going to destroy all the enemies, total victory in Gaza, winning at all fronts, and so forth and so on. He cannot endure the idea that for once Arab, Palestinian, Lebanese resistance could in fact have the upper hand and become equal in the political outcomes of this war. So he is in another desperate move, trying to escalate the war, hoping to push the region into a regional war, hoping to get the United States involved in his war. He's not going to get that if, and indeed, the Lebanese people continue to exhibit the kind of resilience we have seen from them in the past. There will be no surrender in Lebanon. We know that for a fact, but we also have experienced that in Gaza. No surrender in Gaza either. What he has failed to achieve in Gaza cannot possibly be achieved in Lebanon.
And where does this leave the ceasefire then, Ramzy? Do you think it's becoming increasingly clear that there's little hope here now of a Gaza ceasefire from Israel?
For now, because what Netanyahu wants is to de-link the resistance in Lebanon and Gaza, to separate the causes of the Lebanese and the Palestinian people. And I don't think he will be able to achieve that. This whole idea that this war is about bringing back about 100,000 Israeli settlers and citizens in the north back to their homes, I think this is for public consumption. The actual aim of this war is for Hezbollah to say, listen, we are ready to negotiate separate from Hamas, separate from Gaza. He will not be able to get that. And once he reaches the conclusion that there will be no de-linking between Lebanon and Palestine, is the moment that we could potentially seeing a serious kind of efforts to push back the idea of the ceasefire in Gaza. So this is very consequential what's happening, not just for Lebanon and the Lebanese people, for Palestine and the Palestinian people as well.
Ramzy, really appreciate your time here on TRT World. Ramzy Baroud speaking to us live there from Seattle.